In today's video, I'm going to show you the tools that I think you need as a beginning woodworker. Looking back at how I started my woodworking journey and thinking about how very few tools that I actually had at my disposal, my hope with this video is to kind of point you in the right direction. So these are the tools that I think that you need as a beginning woodworker. The first items you need to get started are a pair of safety glasses, a pencil, and a tape measure. So the number one tool I think any woodworker needs when starting out is a table saw. One of the first things I ever built in my high school shop class was a nightstand, which is actually the one that you saw in the beginning of this video. Yeah, that one. So I thought it would be fun after all these years to build another nightstand to compare how my skills as a woodworker have improved over time. Hopefully improved anyways. The table saw is a tool that requires your focus and respect due to how powerful it can be. The power is designed to cut through large slabs of wood and can be kind of intimidating and a little bit scary when you first start using it. However, like any of these tools I mentioned today, over time with repetition and patience, you'll be much more confident in your abilities using them. So later on in your woodworking journey, you're probably going to want to make a crosscut sled. It's going to make all of your crosscuts much easier. Being that this is a beginning woodworking video, we're going to use our miter gauge. The miter gauge is an accessory that typically comes with a table saw when you purchase a new one. This accessory allows you to make crosscuts safely at almost any angle you want. However, it is nowhere near as easy to use or as safe as a crosscut sled.
Mr. Crosscut Sled?
I do, dude. This thing's stupid. A huge selling point for me in the crosscut sled is it allows you to use both tracks on your table saw. The miter gauge only uses one, and as a result of that, you have sloppier and not as accurate of cuts. And as you improve your skills over time, this just isn't acceptable. So with that said, let's ditch the miter gauge and use my crosscut sled. All right, forget it. I don't need this. We're done with that stupid thing. Let's use the crosscut sled. It's much safer. Since I have the crosscut sled, I'm just going to use it. Another benefit to using the crosscut sled is it's going to increase your productivity. Once you dial it in, you rarely are going to have to check it, and it's going to be ready to go every time you use it. This is going to give you consistent and accurate cuts for all of your woodworking projects. Another must-have table saw accessory is a push stick. The push stick helps you feed your piece through the table saw without getting your fingers too close to the blade. I realize I probably sound like a broken record about protecting your hands at all costs, but being a dad, I tend to repeat things to my kids 10 times a day. Save your fingers, use a push stick.
Wait, are you putting different wood glue in another wood glue?
So, moving on to assembling our nightstand. We're going to need some wood glue for that. Always dry fit your projects before applying the glue.
Okay, hold on.
Because of this example right here. These two were supposed to be 7x4, but I made them 7x3. These two were supposed to be 8x3. They're 4x8. Just take your time. Don't rush through it. That's when you cut things wrong and then you have to do them again. Just measure twice, cut once. No matter how long you've been woodworking, you're still going to make mistakes. Things happen. It's okay. It's all part of the building process. Oh, man, Nick, that is just so much better. Yeah, I like it. I think that looks pretty good. Another tool that every woodworker should have is a drill. A Krig jig is a great tool I recommend to all beginning woodworkers. It's used to make pocket hole screw joints in a much easier and faster way. It's a great tool to have while you're learning before you start using woodworking joinery without the need of screws. Now we start putting them together. When making your pocket hole joints, the Krig face clamp is a complementary accessory that's going to make this process much simpler. This is a common theme amongst many of the tools I've mentioned thus far. So, if you are also a fan of making your projects easier and faster, then hit that like button so I know you're on the same page. F-clamps will be your best friend when gluing and screwing pieces of wood together. The reason we're using the Krig jig, and there's like a million holes in this thing, is because we want this build to be done in a day. Otherwise you have to do actual woodworking joinery, then you have to wait for glue to dry and stuff, and we don't have time for that. So you might be asking yourself, how do you eventually make money doing this? I recommend starting out by doing this as a side hobby while you learn the basics of the craft, and then eventually making it a side hustle, where you have your full-time job paying your bills and you're building projects on the side for your clients, until eventually you feel it's the right time for you to make it your full-time job if that's your goal. A speed square is basically a protractor for wood. It allows you to draw any angle between 45 and 90 degrees. This build includes a V-block. I've never really been able to find a V-block for sale, but it's really an easy thing to make in your shop. I'm using it right now to hold the table legs at a 45-degree angle to cut a notch for the bottom shelf of the nightstand. I did make a video of me making this V-block that you can find with the rest of my YouTube videos. The rest of the tools used in this video will be found in the description below. The chisel is a very versatile tool that can be used in many different ways in woodworking. And in this case, we're using it to clean up the glue face on the bottom shelf for the nightstand. Now we get to use my least favorite tool, a sander. As much as I dislike sanding, it is the most important part of any woodworking project. The sole purpose of sanding is to create a smooth and clean surface of any project. The finer you go, the more unique grain will show through. On to the next tool is the router. We're going to use the router to create a unique profile for the top of this nightstand. A router is another one of those tools that can be used in a lot of different ways. It can be used to create a unique profile on the edge of a piece of wood. There is no end to the possibilities of what you can do with a router. Once your whole project has been assembled, it's time to apply the finish. The finish creates a protective top coat for all of your woodworking projects. There are many different types of finishes out there. Each one's going to come with its own unique look and feel. The finish is the true icing on the cake to any woodworking project that you complete. If you are a beginning woodworker and you're looking to ditch that miter gauge for a crosscut sled, watch the video linked on the screen here of how I made my crosscut sled. As always, thanks for watching.